Revealed, how a surprising blind date with a single dad transformed an elite CEO's life forever. Sarah Mitchell sat in her corner office, the sprawling city skyline casting a long shadow over her heart. Success surrounded her, technology buzzed around the room, her team believed in her vision, and yet, isolation settled in like a thick fog. Another week went by where her notifications flooded in with praises and congratulatory emails about deals closed, but standing at the edge of her achievements, she felt an unshakable hollow. As she ran her fingers over the sleek surface of her desk, the weight of her estranged family tugged at her mind, reminders of meaningful moments lost in a whirlwind of deals and deadlines. When her well-meaning friend pushed the idea of a blind date, Sarah scoffed. "I don't have time for that," she protested. But late-night loneliness gnawed at her, twisting her resolve, so she reluctantly agreed, a part of her yearning for something real amidst the chrome and glass of her corporate life. She arrived at the diner filled with the smell of grease and warmth, starkly different from the sterile conference rooms she inhabited daily. The contrast between her and Jake was electric. He smiled, a humble mechanic with calloused hands, embodying a sense of kindness she'd long forgotten. As they settled into a booth, she was enveloped by a wave of vulnerability as Jake shared tales of his son, a world where family values reigned supreme. Each story he spoke sat heavy in the pit of her stomach, juxtaposed against her endless corporate climb. "Every decision I make, it's for him," Jake said, his eyes sparking with hope. For Sarah, the conversation spiraled into a thought that gripped her tighter than any boardroom presentation ever had. Dreaming of mergers and profit margins suddenly felt hollow against the backdrop of a father's love. The laughter they shared faded into silence, her racing mind breaking down her carefully constructed life into disarray. Before they could dive deeper, visions of a lucrative merger opportunity flashed before her, the path to exponential growth, recognition, and the power it promised. But with the outlook came the realization that this dream came with a price. Nurturing something authentic with Jake and his son would force her to question the very core of her ambitions. The tightening in her chest felt suffocating as she grappled with her choices. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Panic rose as Sarah envisioned a future stacked with accolades and awards sitting in stark contrast to nightly dinners, laughter, and the warmth of family. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. Could she enjoy both worlds? The pressure mounted as she analyzed every angle, her well-practiced mask slipping to reveal the desperate longing for connection against the backdrop of corporate ambition. Just as she felt she might find clarity, Jake surprised her with unexpected news that sent her emotions spiraling. His words echoed like a ticking clock in her mind, challenging every belief she held. The allure of corporate success felt increasingly trivial against the promise of love and genuine connection unraveling before her. Her heart raced, a storm of emotions whirling as she stood at the precipice of a new life direction, hesitant yet irresistibly drawn to the warmth that felt like home for the first time. Would she choose the dangerous allure of ambition, or would she risk everything for the promise of something real? The question lingered in the air, thick with uncertainty, drawing them both closer to a reckoning that could change everything. The morning after that fateful evening gnawed at Sarah with a sense of urgency that pushed her to escape her office's familiarity. Her mind raced, oscillating between the warmth of Jake's stories and the cold steel of her corporate ambitions. As she drove through the congested streets, a familiar inner conflict welled within her, each red light mirroring the stop-and-go of her thoughts. On one hand, her career was climbing higher than ever. She had fluttering invitations to elite conferences, future deals lying in wait for her brilliance to seal them. Yet, as she sat at a bustling coffee shop nursing her cappuccino, the pervasive scent of vanilla seemed a metaphor for everything sweet yet ephemeral she had avoided in favor of spreadsheets and quarterly reports. "What have I done?" she whispered to herself, momentarily lost in her reflection against the glass window. The city outside moved in rapid chaos, yet she was frozen in indecision. Her phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, news about a new venture capital deal she was overseeing. There was even an email from Jake, though she hesitated before opening it. A part of her craved the raw honesty of his voice, the promise of a life with depth and meaning that her busy existence failed to give her. The other part felt the mounting pressure of expectations as her rising status in the industry quickly associated her with success and power. Success felt cheap without someone to share it with. Days passed as she struggled with her thoughts, a push and pull that soon seeped into her work. Although she executed her role with unwavering precision, frustration mounted. The discussions with her board about the next merger felt lackluster, her team's excitement dissolved her enthusiasm into mere obligation. During a particularly exhaustive meeting, she felt her resolve shatter. On her way out, she found herself wandering into the company gym. The rhythmic thumping of her heart drowned out the voices that insisted she prioritize ambition over her emotional needs. With every lap around the track, clarity surged through her, illuminating the dark corners of her confusion. In that moment, she decided the first step towards her transformation would be to meet Jake again, this time without the cloud of doubt. She reached for her phone and sent a simple message, "Hey Jake, can we meet? I'd like to talk." The reply came almost immediately. "Absolutely. When?" "Tomorrow, for breakfast." Just as excitement bubbled within her, doubt twisted in her gut. Was she making the right choice? Were they two worlds too incompatible? That evening, after an exhaustive corporate day, as she sank into her favorite chair, Sarah committed herself to a new mindset. She grabbed a notebook and began to write, spilling thoughts onto the pages with fervor. Questions flooded her pen. Who was Sarah Mitchell, beyond the boardroom? What did she genuinely want? She realized ambitions needed a new definition, one that encompassed not only achievements but personal fulfillment, relationships, and love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, she felt a lightness, a sense that she was finally confronting her dichotomy head-on. Breakfast, Jake's warm smile welcomed her like a sunbeam. Over eggs and coffee, they shared laughter, but she also felt the tension in the air as she contemplated how to bridge their lives. The voice of ambition whispered doubts, but Sarah pushed against it, determined to find an authentic presence within their connection. Just when she began to feel the heaviness of her vulnerabilities lifting, Jake mentioned a responsibility he had been avoiding, a truth she had yet to uncover. Her pulse quickened, laden with anticipation and apprehension, recognizing that the path forward was now laced with shadows she hadn't anticipated. The moment hung there, a promise intertwined with uncertainty. Would she step further into this newfound direction, willing to face whatever revelations lay ahead? Sarah took a deep breath, ready to explore this daunting territory. The air around Sarah felt electric as Jake's words settled into the space between them. His gaze bore into her, confirming that this moment was pivotal. She realized that beneath the calm surface of their conversation lay uncharted depths. "What do you mean by responsibility?" she asked, both curious and apprehensive. The question hung heavy, like a storm cloud ready to burst. Jake inhaled deeply, his expression shifting from light-hearted to serious. "I have a daughter. I haven't told you because I wasn't sure how or when." The revelation struck Sarah, a mixture of intrigue and disbelief swirling inside her. A daughter? It added an entirely new dimension to Jake's complex, nuanced reality that shifted the foundation of her feelings. Yet, just as fascination ignited, Sarah caught herself grappling with emotions she hadn't expected to confront so soon. Would she be stepping into a world filled with new commitments, potential heartache, and intricate dynamics? Looking deep into Jake's eyes, she saw sincerity, perhaps a hint of fear. He was giving her a choice. She felt a turmoil of ambition laced with desire. The high-stakes board meetings and flawless presentations paled compared to this significance. Could she embrace a relationship that demanded both softness and strength? Could she thrive in an environment where unpredictable but rewarding connections existed? The eggs on her plate remained untouched. "Does she know about me?" "She doesn't," Jake replied, his tone resolute, but a flicker of vulnerability passed across his face. I haven't introduced her to anyone since her mother and I separated. I didn't want to confuse her. But he hesitated, searching her face for understanding. I don't want to be alone anymore. The truth behind his admission resonated with Sarah. It teetered on the precipice of her own fears. Following her passion for Jake meant stepping away from her self-imposed rigid expectations, something that exhausted her spirit. She regained focus, momentarily neglecting the professional persona that had driven her life for so long. What if I want to be part of that? She blurted out without thinking. The words felt liberating yet terrifying. Jake's eyes widened with surprise. You're okay with this? It's certainly a surprise, she laughed lightly, despite the weight of her words. But I can't deny a growing connection. However, if I step into this, I have to know what that means for both of us, for you and your daughter. His features softened, a flicker of hope igniting. Perhaps we should take it slow. I want you to know what you're getting into. I won't rush into anything that could complicate our lives even further. Sarah nodded, recognizing that clarity rushed through her like a fresh breeze, cutting through the dense fog of her earlier anxieties. But questions still lingered. Could she build a meaningful connection while balancing her demanding career? Was she equipped to navigate the possible chaos wrapped in a child's emotions? As breakfast wound down, she felt buoyed by the prospect of being a part of something more profound. However, the weight of uncertainty loomed. She would have to confront the lengths she was willing to go to in finding a balance between love and ambition. Leaving the cafe, they walked side by side, a silent agreement forming in the air that they would explore this new terrain together. Just as Sarah felt a tinge of confidence, Jake's next words halted her. There is something else you should know, he said suddenly, the seriousness of his expression chilling her with a hint of dread. I've been offered a promotion, but it would mean moving to another city. Sarah's heart sank. She had taken a step towards opening her life up to something beautiful, only to meet the potential of distance severing it before it even began. The emotional weight pressed heavily against her chest, challenging every decision she thought she had made. Would she let ambition dictate her choices, or would she prioritize her emerging feelings for Jake? The moment encapsulated a crossroads that demanded resolution. Suddenly, she was not just facing her desire for love but also a chance to redefine her career and emotional landscape. The true depth of her capabilities was yet to emerge. Before she could respond, uncertainty loomed again. What if this next step could irrevocably alter everything she built and dreamed of? The air thick with tension buzzed. Her choices began to unravel an entirely new narrative. Sarah's mind raced as she processed Jake's revelation. The promotion, the potential move, it all ignited a storm of conflicting emotions. Could she find a way to support Jake's journey while pursuing her own aspirations? Her role as a high-powered executive had always demanded her full attention, but the prospect of building something tangible with Jake tested her limits in ways she never anticipated. As they continued to walk, the sun peeked through the clouds, illuminating the path ahead. Sarah thought of her career, the countless hours poured into boardroom battles and strategic plans, the accolades and recognition that came with success. Yet now, every achievement felt hollow compared to the possibility of nurturing human connection, of being part of a family that wasn't solely driven by professional pursuits. Do you think you'll take it? She asked Jake, her tone softer now, revealing the vulnerability beneath her usual fortitude. The promotion, I mean. He hesitated as they turned a corner, the ambience shifting yet again. I'm torn. It's a great opportunity, but it would mean uprooting everything, including the chance to even explore what we might have, living so far apart. I wish it didn't feel like an ultimatum, he admitted, his hands shoving deeply into his pockets as if seeking refuge, the mental tension in her chest constricted tighter. Sarah hated the thought of Jake having to choose. That's exactly what I'm concerned about, too. What if we proceed and things become complicated? Or worse, what if we don't and I lose the chance to share something beautiful? The dilemma gnawed at her, and the dialogue between passion and responsibility felt all-consuming. She had climbed the corporate ladder with single-minded determination, now, navigating a romantic relationship with a child's interests involved a new level of complexity. As they reached a park, the comforting presence of nature enveloped them. Families strolled by, laughing and playing, while others sat on benches, engaged in meaningful conversations. The sight only exacerbated her uncertainty. Jake had a daughter, someone to nurture, to guide. What collateral damage awaited if they moved too quickly? Let us consider this another layer we can explore together, Jake suggested, sensing her turmoil. You're not just stepping into a relationship, you're considering becoming a figure in someone else's life. It should never feel like a burden or a rush. We have time to talk it through. Sarah nodded, appreciating his measured response. She realized that instead of succumbing to fear, perhaps embracing the uncertainty could lead to uncovering her hidden strengths. The idea of attending meetings and fulfilling presentations alongside integrating into a family dynamic both terrified and excited her. I don't want to lose focus on what I've worked hard for either, she expressed, her voice steady despite the conflict swirling inside. But I also don't want to shut off the possibility of a fulfilling relationship. A daughter that's a whole new world. That night, as she prepared for bed, the decisions weighing down her thoughts shifted to a new urgency. What if this was a chance to redefine success? A new career path blended with emotional growth and connection. She realized that understanding her capabilities meant integrating all aspects of her life, her professional ambitions with the nurturing instincts she hadn't fully acknowledged. And the following days, Sarah began to deliberate on her values. How could she balance the life she had built with the new possibilities? Each encounter with Jake deepened her resolve to step beyond boundaries she had imposed on herself. Whether it meant finding joy in unexpected places or facing fears that had lingered in the distance, she was determined to grow. Reclaiming her narrative meant making bold choices not just as a businesswoman but as a partner, potentially even a stepmother. Jake's offer was a turning point, presenting a challenge she could either confront or retreat from. As a fresh wave of determination surged within, she resolved to speak to her supervisor about potential opportunities that would allow flexibility within her career. If she were to embrace this journey, it would require innovative thinking on her part. But just as she felt empowered, a message chimed on her phone, halting her momentum. The content made her heart race. Was it possible that fate had delivered yet another challenge? How would she handle what appeared to be an unexpected twist that could shift everything again? The message illuminated her phone screen, a request for a blind date with a single dad. The sender was an acquaintance from her past, someone casually presenting an opportunity that felt like an invitation to chaos rather than connection. Sarah's heart raced, each pulse reverberating with questions. Was this a distraction? Would she be opening a door to yet another complex layer of her already tumultuous emotions regarding Jake? She placed the phone on her nightstand, wrestling with her thoughts. At this moment, she was teetering between two identities, the focused executive who thrived on ambition and an emerging figure intent on embracing vulnerability. The idea of dating another single parent felt disorienting. Was she desperately seeking validation in new experiences, or was this a genuine opportunity for connection? Her fingers traced the screen as she contemplated whether to respond or brush it off. Another chance to explore. Another chance to evolve. But in doing so, what would it mean for her relationship with Jake? She recalled his words, how they intended to explore the layers of their relationship together. Did she risk losing that by entertaining this new invitation? The next few days were a whirl of uncertainty. The office, usually a bastion of control and clarity, began to feel suffocating. Faced with looming deadlines and high-stakes meetings, the question of her personal life echoed relentlessly in her mind. Each time she passed colleagues discussing balancing family and work, she wondered if they, too, had ever faced such dilemmas. How did they discern their professional ambitions from their personal desires? During breaks, she would scroll through her contacts, scanning for Jake's name, tempted to simply voice her confusion. Yet, she hesitated, sensing that revealing her thoughts on a spontaneous blind date could jeopardize the fragile threads of intimacy they were beginning to weave. One evening, as she prepared for a meeting, the image of a lively park, filled with families, crept back into her mind. Parents exchanging glances, laughter echoing in the air. It felt both magnetic and daunting. If she allowed herself to become part of a family, would it mean entangling her carefully cultivated independence with others' needs? The day after the blind date suggestion appeared, she prepared herself for a crucial meeting with her team. She had crafted a new proposal that could alter the course of their project dramatically. As she walked into the boardroom, her heart surged with a mix of adrenaline and nerves. Every eye turned towards her, and the weight of expectation hung in the air. "It's time to redefine our success metrics," she began, her voice steady, channeling her inner executive. As she presented, she felt the tension of her personal life recede, replaced by a profound clarity linked to her expertise. For this moment, her ambition overshadowed her insecurities. But with every slide, every point articulated, the thrill of professional validation also highlighted the emotional void she felt outside of the boardroom. "Excellent work, Sarah," her supervisor praised after the presentation, a welcome acknowledgement. Yet, despite the recognition, an underlying sense of discontent gnawed at her. She abruptly realized that she was still holding back her deeper desire to engage in a multifaceted life, one that beautifully straddled the worlds of work and love. Returning home that evening, she sat in silence, scrutinizing her reflections in the darkened screen of her laptop. The possibilities of her future stretched before her, yet the tension awaited resolution. Taking a breath, she opened her messages, her heart racing as her thumb hovered above the blind date invitation. If she pursued this, could this leap of faith complement or complicate her path with Jake? With determination twinged with uncertainty, Sarah pressed reply. But just as she tapped out a message, another notification pinged, sending her focus spiraling once again. It was Jake. He had a question that might change everything. What could it possibly be? The notification glowed on Sarah's phone like a beacon in the night, calling her attention away from the blinds she had previously been so focused on. Taking a steadying breath, she opened the message. Jake had crafted a thoughtful inquiry, one that showcased both his curiosity and his emotional investment in their budding relationship. "What are your thoughts on taking risks?" The message read. "I've been thinking a lot lately about stepping out of our comfort zones." His words hit her squarely in the chest, leaving her breathless. Was this a gentle nudge toward deeper discussions, an invitation to explore not just their relationship, but the uncharted territories of her own psyche? Suddenly, the blind date request felt even more potent, the potential for personal growth colliding head-on with her emerging feelings for Jake. Sarah paced through her living room, her ambitions and uncertainties bubbling within her. Risk. The word echoed in her mind like a challenge. She had made significant leaps in her career, demonstrating poise in the face of daunting boardroom decisions and skillful navigation of complex negotiations. Yet, when it came to her personal life, she had repeatedly recoiled in response to the mere thought of vulnerability. The emotional dichotomy stung. Why was the prospect of professional exposure exhilarating, while emotional connection felt like stepping off a cliff? As an executive, she thrived on complexity and uncertainty. She could navigate data and lead teams with steely determination. But matters of the heart were a labyrinth where each twist provoked anxiety instead of clarity. With Jake's question simmering in her mind, Sarah sat down with her laptop. She opened a new document and punched out her thoughts as if they were an extension of her strategic thinking process. "What's the worst that could happen if I explored a blind date?" she typed, her fingers flying over the keys. Her executive intuition rang true. Transparency and open conversation mattered. In that moment, clarity struck. If she were to openly communicate with Jake about her feelings, expressing her hesitation about the blind date, could he share his own apprehensions? Would it forge a stronger bond, inviting dialogue and mutual growth? Or did it risk exposing cracks in their connection that had yet to be tested? Taking decisive action, Sarah set her fingers on the keys again, crafting a message for Jake. "I've been thinking about risk too. What if we combine those conversations into something new? Let's meet and talk about it." Just as her thumb hovered over send, another wave of doubt washed over her. Did she possess the courage to confront the potential fallout of her choices? Shakily, she pressed send, releasing the thoughts swirling in her mind like confetti. The wait could stretch endlessly, but she'd crossed a threshold. In the days that followed, an exhilaration stirred within her. Every meeting was electrified by her growing sense of self. She found herself not just presenting strategies at work but engaging her colleagues in open discussions about their own vulnerabilities. One evening, during a brainstorming session, she proposed a team-building activity that reflected personal challenges, urging them to share and confront their own risks much like she was trying to do. This newfound momentum glided Sarah toward a realization: the art of leadership extended beyond tactical frameworks into the realm of emotional intelligence. She assessed how she engaged with her team in ways that mirrored her decision-making in her personal life. The weekend arrived, and with it came a dinner invitation from Jake. Before heading out, Sarah paused in front of the mirror, contemplating her reflection. She looked poised, ready to engage, but the emotional stakes hovered around her like a storm cloud. As she stood at his doorstep, anticipation coursed through her, energized by the chemistry they had cultivated. What awaited her inside was not merely a dinner, but a potential shift from what was comfortable into the unknown. As Jake opened the door, his expression mirrored her own curiosity twinkling in his eyes, laced with the undercurrent of what lay unspoken. "I've been thinking," he began, his tone tentative yet inviting, "about how we navigate our lives, together. Would that be the moment to dive into the uncharted territory of their emotions, or would she steer the conversation to safer grounds?" The moment felt suspended in time, each word could alter their trajectory entirely. The atmosphere hung heavy with anticipation as Sarah crossed the threshold into Jake's living room. The golden hues from the lamps cast soft shadows across the walls, wrapping the space in warmth, but their flickering light could not soothe the tension simmering within her. She felt like an actor waiting for a cue, her heart racing in sync with the sound of cicadas outside. "Hi," she greeted, her voice steady, although internally, the swirl of emotions threatened to knock her off balance. "Hey," Jake replied, a smile breaking through the uncertainty. "I'm glad you could make it." They settled at the small dining table, where a meticulously prepared meal adorned the plates, evidence of Jake's attention to detail, much like her own at work. Yet, the composed atmosphere failed to mask the undercurrent of hesitation. Over dinner, small talk meandered like a gentle stream. Topics floated: films, mutual friends, but Sarah's thoughts raced ahead, questioning how to breach the real heart of their encounter, the risk they both seemed to dance around. As the last of the pasta vanished from her plate, Jake took a deep breath, signaling a shift in tone. "So, about what I said earlier." Sarah's stomach twisted, the fork trembling in her hand. This was it. Would he tackle the emotional landscape head-on? "I've been rethinking what it means to take risks," he continued, turning his gaze directly towards her. "In business, it's easier to measure the potential benefits and losses. But with people relationships it feels different. There's so much more at stake." His words resonated deeply, mirroring her own thoughts about vulnerability. Jake's honesty inspired a tidal wave of courage. She was on the brink of a decision, and she could either retreat into the safety of silence or leap into the unknown. "I've felt that too," she said, her heart racing. "Professionally, I thrive on risk. But, emotionally, I've held back." He leaned in, his expression open but probing. "What are you afraid of?" Sarah's mind sparked with a million answers. The fear of judgment, of failure, of suffocating expectations. Instead of shying away, she chose to harness those fears, letting them expand into something meaningful. "I guess I worry that being vulnerable will expose my weaknesses," she confessed, the honesty of her words flipping a switch inside her. He nodded slowly, the sincerity in his eyes reassuring her. "But isn't that where real connection lies? In acknowledging our imperfections?" Their conversation deepened into late evening. She explored shadows of her past times when she had chosen ambition over affection, comfort over connection. With each confession, the weight of her insecurities lightened, revealing the potential for shared growth. Jake reciprocated with candid insights about his own experiences, weaving their narratives together like strands of a rope. She sensed a shift, not just within herself but in the atmosphere surrounding them. They weren't only colleagues nor were they just two people sharing a meal. This was a foundational moment, a pivotal crossroads. As the night drew to a close, Sarah realized the dinner had transformed from an anxious encounter into an empowering exchange. Their vulnerabilities became the bedrock for a potential relationship steeped in authenticity. But the question lingered: was she ready to explore this uncharted territory further? Standing at Jake's door once more, she hesitated, her thoughts racing ahead. The next step loomed large in her mind, a choice between safety and the thrilling unpredictability of connection. "Would you like to do this again?" she asked, a hopeful tremor in her voice. "I would love that," he replied with a genuine smile, releasing a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Sarah stepped outside, feeling the cool evening air brush against her cheeks. The stakes had shifted. The unknown was no longer daunting, it was a landscape rich with possibilities, but as she drove away, uncertainty began creeping back. Embracing vulnerability was one thing, but could she sustain this momentum? Would she allow the budding connection to flourish? The road ahead stretched before her, winding into the depths of her own uncertainty, and she realized the real journey had just begun. The following days oscillated between hope and hesitation for Sarah. Each morning, she sat at her desk, surrounded by the sleek modernity of her office, yet found herself distracted by the flickering memories of her dinner with Jake. The discussions they shared echoed within her, expanding her awareness but also magnifying her doubts. She had always thrived amid professional challenges, crunching numbers, negotiating deals, but now, navigating these emotional territories felt like uncharted waters. During lunch with her coworkers, she laughed and shared stories, yet felt a growing void. They knew her as the unwavering, composed CEO, but the weight of her internal conflicts left her feeling exposed. She questioned what authenticity looked like in the workplace. Was there room for vulnerability amidst boardroom bravado? Back at her desk, Sarah couldn't resist the urge to revisit her conversation with Jake. His words replayed like a mantra. "What are you afraid of?" It was a simple query, yet it lingered ominously, pushing her to confront her greatest fear, failure not in business, but in human connection. That evening, after an intense day, she logged into her email to send Jake a message. A flicker of anxiety shot through her palms as she typed. "I've been thinking about our conversation. I'd love to explore our connection further. Maybe we could grab coffee." With an anticipatory breath, she hit send, letting out a sigh as an unexpected rush of exhilaration coursed through her. Was she really embracing this new side of herself? In the following days, anticipation built like a storm cloud looming overhead. When Jake replied, his enthusiasm was palpable. "Absolutely. Coffee sounds great. How about this weekend?" However, Sarah's calm demeanor began to crack. Arriving at the coffee shop, she fought to contain the fluttering nerves fluttering within. They felt far more intense than any high-stakes business meeting. As she sat at a corner table, watching the door, she confronted a reality. This meeting was not just about coffee, it represented a pivotal moment in her personal journey. The arrival of Jake jolted her heart. He looked relaxed and approachable, yet she sensed a tentative barrier still hung between them, a thread waiting to be woven into something more substantial. As their conversation flowed over steaming cups, she felt herself oscillating between power and vulnerability. "Have you ever thought about what you would do if you let go of the fear?" Jake asked, probing gently yet persistently. Sarah hesitated, her mind spiraling through a maze of possibilities. What if she allowed herself to dream without restriction? "I've built my career on calculated risks," she ventured. "But in my personal life, I've been afraid to take that leap." He leaned back, eyes intent on her. "And what if? What if that leap led to something beautiful?" His words hung heavy in the air, igniting a flicker of determination in her chest. Something beautiful was within reach, yet the fear of loss felt immovable. In this quest for authenticity, she was forced to confront her very core. As they talked, a shared understanding began to blossom, punctuated by moments of laughter and the poignant recognition of their shared fears. Yet, One question loomed over Sarah like a dark cloud: was she prepared to dismantle the walls she had so carefully constructed? By the time they wrapped up their coffee, Sarah felt a rush of energy. Each encounter took her further from her comfort zone and a step closer to a fuller version of herself. Still, as they planned to meet again, she felt the tension re-emerge. Could she truly engage without retreating back into the familiar safety of her professional identity? As she walked away, a new clarity struck her like a lightning bolt. The real challenge lay ahead, not in maintaining her sense of composure but in allowing herself to be seen, imperfections and all. The uncertainty fermented within her, intertwined with flickers of excitement. Treading the delicate balance of professional ambition and emotional authenticity seemed daunting, yet she realized this was a journey requiring commitment. Would she choose to embrace this path, confronting the risks of intimacy head-on, or would she let her fears dictate her choices? And thus, with those looming questions, Sarah recognized this was only the beginning of a greater transformation. What awaited her next demanded a deeper commitment to herself, one that went beyond the risks of business into the essence of who she was becoming. The week following her coffee date with Jake was marked by an uncanny tension that thrummed beneath the surface of Sarah's daily routine. The thrill of their meeting had ignited a flame within her, but as she returned to her role within the office, that heat often flickered against the shadows of self-doubt. Refusing to let the whirlwind of emotions overwhelm her, she channeled her focus into her work, tackling projects with her trademark precision. Yet, the challenges she encountered felt different, as if they held a beacon of reflection. During a particularly intense strategy meeting, her mind drifted to the question Jake posed: what if you let go of the fear? While her colleagues discussed quarterly goals, she sensed vulnerability pinnacle within her. Were their corporate numbers as relevant to her as the number of steps she wanted to take toward true self-understanding? In the past, analysis and insight had been her compass. Now, she craved something deeper, a true alignment of her heart and ambition. The juxtaposition of her personal discovery and her corporate identity became increasingly apparent. After another day filled with talks about profit margins and market trends, she sat in her office staring blankly at a financial report. The numbers were climbing, reflecting a successful quarter, yet they felt hollow. Pushing a strand of hair behind her ear, she questioned her priorities. Was her pursuit of data merely a distraction from something more pressing, a need for connection? By Thursday, she felt the weight of her choices pressing against her chest, like a storm gathering strength. With the weekend drawing near, anticipation seeped through her veins again. She had agreed to meet Jake for dinner this time, expanding their tentative groundwork into uncharted territory. Would this encounter deepen their connection, or would it leave her grappling with more unanswered fears? Standing in front of her closet, Sarah rifled through the dresses she'd never worn. Each garment represented a part of herself she'd tucked away, a vibrant essence nearly forgotten in the fabric of her daily attire. She bypassed the safe, tailored outfits, opting instead for a flowing dress that felt like a declaration of her newfound resolve. The reflection in the mirror surprised her. It echoed strength and vibrancy she seldom showcased. As she slipped it on, her heart surged with both excitement and apprehension. That evening, as she arrived at the restaurant, a swell of nerves washed over her. Jake looked up from his seat, his face lighting up with a smile that cut through her uncertainty. They chatted easily, yet Sarah could feel an undercurrent of tension, a palpable energy as they navigated between light banter and deeper discussions. An unguarded moment revealed itself when they both sat in comfortable silence after sharing anecdotes about their childhoods. "Do you believe in fate?" Jake asked suddenly, breaking the tranquility. The question lingered in the air, prompting Sarah to confront her instinctual defenses. What if she leaned into this moment, allowing it to shape her experience? "I'm starting to," she replied thoughtfully. There was something liberating about acknowledging her fears head-on. She found strength in her vulnerability. Perhaps accepting fate also meant permitting herself to embrace uncertainty without the constraints of her corporate persona. Conversations flowed deep into the evening, the atmosphere colored by remarkable honesty. Yet, in the depths of her mind, a nagging thought threw her off balance. While she grappled with growing affection for Jake, an equally potent fear resided alongside it. Would she risk the connection they forged, or would the familiar pull of her professional identity force her to retreat? as they left the restaurant, the cool night air brushed against her skin, awakening her senses. She felt a tingle of anticipation laced with trepidation. When Jake leaned in to kiss her, Sarah paused, acutely aware of the crossroads they stood at. This moment represented more than just a romantic gesture, it encapsulated the essence of her transformation and what choices awaited beyond this encounter. She stepped back, catching Jake's surprised gaze, and took a deep breath. "I need to be honest," she said, her voice steady yet vulnerable. "Let's talk about what this is leading to and what that really means for us." As she laid herself bare, a sense of relief washed over her. For the first time, she felt authentically herself, not the untouchable CEO but simply Sarah, seeking to balance emotion with reality. Yet her boldness left one glaring question echoing in the corners of her mind: was she prepared to face the consequences of this honesty, whatever they might entail? The weeks following that pivotal moment transformed Sarah's path in ways she had never imagined. Embracing her vulnerability catalyzed a profound metamorphosis. No longer was she merely a corporate powerhouse defined by success metrics and deals closed. She was now a multidimensional individual seeking a rich life defined not solely by accolades, but by authentic experiences. Conversations with Jake deepened their connection, providing a sacred space to confront fears, aspirations, and dreams. They explored topics ranging from their most profound insecurities to their ambitions of building a life together, confronting the complexity of family with genuine affection. With every meeting, Sarah felt a newfound clarity. Long gone were the days of solitude drowned in corporate victories. She began to balance her dual identities, understanding that both ambition and love could coexist, feeding each other instead of competing for dominance. In boardrooms, she exhibited a nuanced perspective, a blend of firm leadership and emotional intelligence. Each strategic proposal she presented included not just figures, but themes of integrity and collaboration. The team responded positively, feeling inspired by her authenticity. A promotion followed, one that recognized not just her impressive performance but the growing respect she garnered as a leader who embraced her humanity. Amid these professional shifts, Sarah willingly integrated into Jake's life and the life of his little daughter. Their dinner dates became vibrant family outings. Sarah hosted playful afternoons filled with laughter and compassion, evolving into a nurturing figure, bridging the gap between career achievements and personal fulfillment. The little girl's bright eyes reflected trust and warmth, resonating deeply within Sarah. This new chapter ignited a flame of hope, showcasing how balance between ambition and nurturing was not just a dream but a fulfilling reality. One evening, beneath a sky ablaze with stars during a family picnic, Jake turned to Sarah, his expression earnest. "My daughter adores you. She said you make everything feel bright," he shared, his words resonating with serene truth. In that moment, a wave of pride surged through her. She was no longer just achieving success on her own, she was joining forces with a family that saw her value, illuminating her life in ways numbers and accolades never could. As summer turned to fall, Sarah stood before her team, preparing to present a new initiative that championed work-life harmony, a program aimed at reshaping corporate culture within her organization. The old Sarah, consumed by ambition, would have focused solely on productivity. Now, she advocated for holistic growth, one that nurtured both professional and personal dimensions. The smiles from her colleagues and stakeholders signified more than agreement, they represented trust, recognition, and emotional connection. That day, she realized how her transformation created ripples beyond her own life. It influenced those around her, embodying the principles she sought. Empowered, Sarah visited the park where she and Jake had shared moments brimming with unease and possibility. Standing on the very spot where they first engaged in those heartfelt conversations, she had a realization: this was where transformative choices had taken root. Picking up the phone, she dialed Jake, feeling bold about her intentions. "Let's make this official," she proposed, her voice steady. "I want to embrace what we are together." When Jake responded, joy radiating from his words, Sarah felt raw excitement. As she articulated her commitment, she was courting vulnerability without trepidation, acknowledging the myriad feelings that colored her heart. With Jake and his daughter by her side, Sarah envisioned a future filled with genuine connections, where every ambition would complement her continuous journey of personal and emotional growth. With a new sense of purpose each day, she engaged with colleagues not just as a leader but as an authentic participant in their challenges, championing mental wellness initiatives, and working to humanize the corporate experience. In embracing the collective paths of family and career, Sarah thrived, establishing her life firmly on the foundation of connection, love, and ambition. The legacy she was crafting wasn't merely about closing deals, it was about opening avenues to lighten the way forward for others. And as she watched the horizon shimmer on the cusp of new opportunities, Sarah reveled in the bittersweet satisfaction of knowing that true success extended far beyond the boardroom. It was built on relationships forged in bravery, commitment, and love. This, her holistic transformation, signified the achievement of her greatest ambition yet, to redefine what her fulfilling life could mean. Now, dear viewers, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that redefine lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure others witness these transformative journeys. Comment your reactions and theories about Sarah's evolution. Remember to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.